The I want to think about it stall is the most common sales objection inside sales reps are going to hear. And the two best ways to handle that is the first way is to properly qualify your prospect ahead of time before they even have an opportunity to say that. The second best way, if you've already made some mistakes in the sales process and you get to that point where you go for a close and you hear, I want to think about it, the best way I found to handle that is to simply go ahead and ask, well, Mr. Prospect, let's ask you a question. When you say you want to think about it, do you mean that you want to think about solving problem XYZ, or do you mean you want to think about if our solution is the right fit to solve XYZ problem? Which one of those is it? Doing it this way, what it does is it places your prospect's attention where they have to pick a side. Now, it could be the first, it could be the second, or it could be none of those. What I really need to think about is this, okay? But when you go ahead and properly early on in the sales call, you get problem recognition. This is during the qualifying phase. When you get problem recognition, you now have a hot button. When you have a hot button, when you go for a close later on, and if they say, I need to think about it, this is why it's called a button. It's time to press that hot button. So now, for example, I could say something along the lines, well, Mr. Prospect, earlier on when we were talking, you mentioned that your sales team is struggling with call reluctance, and that's causing them not to pick up the phone, which is causing some of them to miss quota, which means you're not hitting your revenue goals, right? That we still want that solved, correct? Now, this is one of the rare times I will actually use a question that is leading the witness, if you will. I never want to ask a leading the witness question during my qualifying phase because I need honest answers. No matter if I don't like the answers or not, I need to get truthful answers. But once I got that, and if they said, yes, this was a problem early on, and then I move on forward, and I'm going for a close again, or if I'm going for a close the first time, and they say I need to think about it, I'm going to bring the hot button up. That's why it's called a hot button, right? We've got time to push it. And so then I'm going to ask that question. If that's the case, so out of this, this is something you still want us to solve, correct? Yes. Okay. So is it my solution that you need to think about then? And now you're in the conversation still. You understand? So again, just to recap, the best way to handle the I want to think about it is to make sure you're following the proper sales steps along the way before you ever hear that objection. What do I mean by that? Well, you want to make sure you get problem recognition. Identify a problem, make sure you get commitment that that's a problem and they want it solved. Then you find out what their role is in the decision-making process. Don't go ahead and assume they're the decision maker just based on their title. Get them to tell you what the process is. Once you know you're speaking with a decision maker, then find out their time frame for solving that problem. See, if you get that commitment, or if you get them to agree it's a problem, they want it solved, and you identify their role in the decision-making process, and you confirm that they are the decision maker, and then you go, once you find the right solution to help you solve that, how soon realistically would you like that to be implemented? Well, I'd like it right away. Okay, well, when you say right away, does that mean, now, next week, next quarter, next year? How do you mean? I'm clarifying that. I don't want general answers. You go, I'd like to get it solved, within 30 days. Gotcha. Okay. This is part of the qualifying process. I'm getting these things out early. See, when I do that, when I get to the end, if I find out that they have a problem they want solved, they're the decision maker and their time frame, when I do go for a close, they can't say, well, we need to wait a year because they already told me within 30 days. So they can't use that objection. They can't tell me that they're not the decision maker because they already confirmed that. But they could say, I want to think about it. So again, just if I follow the sales process correctly, like I'm supposed to, right? Then I can, and they say, I need to think about it. I say, well, just to be curious, when you say you need to think about it, do you need to think about, and then you hit the pain point, or do you need to think about if my solution is the right fit for solving that problem? Well, and now if they say it's your solution, no problem. Do you mind if I take a few step backs just to make sure? Listen, I don't want to borrow your money for 30 days, right? I don't want you to sign up and it not be a good fit. So do you mind if I take a step back, just ask you a few more questions to see really if our solution would be the right fit for you or not? Would that be okay? Right. So now I have to start over. I have to get that permission to take a step back. But what I've done is I was able to, when they said I need to think about it, I clarified. Was it solving the problem or my solution? A lot of times what you're going to find out, though, is that you went ahead and did a presentation without really getting problem recognition. This is the number one reason why you hear I need to think about it. They don't want to make a decision because they're not sure if they really need the solution. So if you made the mistake of going forward without really getting a problem recognition, then when you respond that way, is it this, or if you don't have a hot button, Right. So then you would just simply go ahead. Do you mind if I back up for a second? Let me just ask you a quick question or two to see if this is even makes sense for us to have a follow-up call. Would that be okay? Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, fine. Go ahead. All right, so let me ask you this. And now you have to go back to step one of qualifying, ask that engagement question to get your problem recognition going. And you have to uncover if a problem exists. Remember, if there's no problem, there's no need for a solution. So if you present a solution to when they don't agree there's a problem, when you go for a close, you're probably going to hear, I need to think about it. And it's just a stall tactic. But, so again, just to recap, make sure you follow the proper step-by-step SalesBuzz process. When you do that, you're not going to have this objection. If you make a mistake, ask that question where it clarifies those two situations. And if you didn't get a pain point, ask, do you mind if I go back real quick? Let me just ask you one or two quick questions to see if it would make sense for us to even have a follow-up down the road. Would that be okay? And then you regain permission, and then you start over, and then you do it the right way, like you should have the first time. All right? I hope this helps.